You think cooking for one means endless takeout containers and frozen dinners? Think again. For decades, seniors living alone mastered the art of simple, satisfying meals that required no recipes, no fuss, and no wasted ingredients. Let's dig into 30 easy, no-recipe meals for seniors living alone. Toast with cottage cheese and fruit became a morning staple for seniors who wanted nutrition without complicated breakfast preparation. A single slice of bread, toasted golden, provided the base for creamy cottage cheese spooned generously on top. Fresh or canned fruit, peaches, pears, or berries added natural sweetness that made the simple plate feel complete. The combination delivered protein, calcium, and vitamins that doctors recommended for aging bodies. Seniors appreciated that everything assembled in under 3 minutes with ingredients lasting days in the refrigerator. The cottage cheese stayed fresh longer than milk, and canned fruit sat in pantries for months. There was no measuring, no mixing, no timing to worry about. Just toast, spread, top, and eat. For those living alone, this eliminated the loneliness of cooking elaborate breakfasts no one else would share. It was practical and satisfying, proof that eating well alone did not require culinary expertise or hours in the kitchen. Sardines on crackers represented affordable nutrition that seniors could pull together in moments without any cooking whatsoever. A tin of sardines, costing mere cents, provided omega-3 fatty acids, calcium from soft edible bones, and protein doctors praised for heart health. Paired with saltines or whole wheat crisps, this became lunch or dinner for countless elderly folks living independently. The preparation required nothing more than opening the can and arranging fish on crackers. No stove, no oven, no cleanup beyond rinsing the tin. Seniors who survived the Depression remembered sardines as survival food, but in later years they returned by choice. The strong, briny flavor satisfied appetites that had dulled with age, while soft texture made eating easier for those with dental concerns. A single can stretched across 2 meals when appetites ran small. The crackers added crunch, turning humble fish into a proper meal. For seniors watching every penny and minute, sardines delivered maximum nourishment with minimum effort. Banana and peanut butter became the meal seniors reached for when energy flagged and hunger struck without warning. A ripe banana, peeled and eaten plain or sliced, paired naturally with spoonfuls of peanut butter providing protein and healthy fats. The combination required no utensils beyond a knife and no preparation beyond opening the jar. Seniors valued this because both ingredients stayed fresh on countertops without refrigeration, meaning no store trips when weather turned bad or mobility became difficult. Natural sugars in bananas provided quick energy, while peanut butter ensured fullness lasted hours. Many seniors ate this standing at the kitchen counter. Others spread peanut butter directly onto banana slices. Doctors approved of potassium for blood pressure management, while peanut butter offered iron and B vitamins aging bodies needed. This was not fancy food, but honest food, filling, affordable, requiring no recipe. For seniors alone at mealtimes, banana and peanut butter offered comfort without complication. Canned soup with crackers stood as perhaps the most universal no-recipe meal for seniors, a combination transcending generations and economic circumstances. A single can of soup, chicken noodle, tomato, vegetable beef, heated in minutes, filling kitchens with warmth and familiar aromas. Crackers alongside added crunch and substance, transforming soup into something genuinely satisfying. Seniors stocked pantries with soup cans because they lasted years without spoiling, cost little during sales, and required nothing beyond a can opener and pot. Each spoonful brought memories of sick days when mothers served soup as medicine, of cold afternoons when hot broth warmed bodies from inside. For those eating alone, a bowl of soup felt less lonely than a full dinner plate, emphasizing the empty chair across the table. The simplicity was the point. Open, heat, pour, eat. No measuring, no timing, no failure possible. Canned soup represented security itself for seniors determined to feed themselves with dignity and independence. Cheese and apple slices offered seniors a meal that felt almost elegant, despite requiring zero cooking and minimal preparation. Sharp cheddar, Swiss, or whatever cheese sat in the refrigerator paired beautifully with crisp apple wedges, creating a combination satisfying both hunger and the desire for something enjoyable. The contrast of creamy cheese against tart, crunchy fruit awakened taste buds grown bored with monotonous meals. Seniors assembled this in moments: a few cheese slices, an apple cut into wedges, perhaps crackers for additional substance. The meal provided protein from cheese, fiber from apple, and enough calories to sustain an afternoon without feeling heavy. Both ingredients lasted well in refrigerators, meaning seniors could buy modestly without waste. The combination dated back centuries, giving it tradition that made eating alone feel less diminished. For seniors remembering childhood snacks of cheese and fruit, this meal carried emotional nourishment alongside physical sustenance. Hard-boiled eggs became reliable companions for seniors needing protein they could prepare once and eat throughout the week. A dozen eggs, boiled in a single pot and cooled in the refrigerator, provided meals and snacks for days without additional cooking. Seniors could peel one egg at a time, adding salt and pepper or eating it plain. The preparation was forgiving. Even overcooked eggs remained edible and nutritious. Each egg delivered protein, vitamins, and minerals in a compact package costing pennies. Many seniors boiled eggs on Sunday afternoons, creating supply lasting through Friday. The eggs traveled well for appointments, tucked into pockets without need for heating. Some seniors sliced eggs onto toast, others mashed them with mayonnaise, but many ate them whole. The simplicity appealed to those whose cooking energy had diminished, while nutrition satisfied doctors concerned about protein. Hard-boiled eggs represented self-sufficiency, proof that one person could feed themselves properly. Tuna salad on bread emerged as one of the most practical, no-recipe meals for seniors, requiring only a can opener and fork to create something genuinely satisfying. A single can of tuna, drained and mixed with mayonnaise, became filling for sandwiches serving as lunch or dinner. Some seniors added chopped celery or pickle relish. Others kept it simple with just fish and mayonnaise. The canned tuna lasted indefinitely in pantries, costing little and providing protein doctors praised. Making the salad took less than 5 minutes, and results could be stored for tomorrow's meal. For seniors living alone, portion sizes worked perfectly. One can make enough for 2 sandwiches, meaning today's effort covered tomorrow's lunch. The familiar flavor reminded many of school cafeterias and family picnics, carrying comfort alongside calories. Tuna required no refrigeration until opened, no special preparation, no chance of failure. Even seniors whose hands trembled could manage this simple assembly. Instant oatmeal with honey provided seniors warm, nourishing breakfast requiring nothing beyond boiling water and stirring. Individual packets eliminated measuring. Just tear open, pour into a bowl, add hot water, and wait. In 3 minutes, breakfast was ready. Seniors drizzled honey over the top for natural sweetness, tasting better than artificial flavors in pre-sweetened varieties. The oatmeal filled bellies and provided fiber doctors insisted upon for digestive health. Each packet cost almost nothing, and boxes lasted weeks without spoiling. The warm bowl felt comforting on cold mornings, especially for seniors waking in quiet houses with no one to share breakfast. Some added raisins or sliced banana, others preferred just honey. The simplicity was the appeal. No pots to wash beyond bowl and spoon, no timing to monitor. For seniors whose mornings had grown slower and whose appetites had shrunk, instant oatmeal represented a meal manageable regardless of energy level. It was dependable nutrition wrapped in comfort. Cold cereal with milk remained perhaps the simplest meal seniors could assemble, requiring no cooking, no preparation, and no cleanup beyond rinsing a single bowl. A handful of cereal poured into a bowl, milk added, and breakfast was served in under 30 seconds. Seniors chose from countless varieties: bran flakes for fiber, corn flakes for familiarity, or sweeter options when indulgence felt necessary. Cereal boxes lasted weeks if stored properly, and milk could be purchased in smaller containers for those living alone. Many seniors ate cereal not just for breakfast but dinner as well, recognizing nutrition mattered more than convention. The meal provided calcium from milk, fortified vitamins from cereal, and carbohydrates offering quick energy. Eating cereal felt neither lonely nor sad. It was simply practical for one person managing their household. The familiar crunch, cold milk, simple sweetness, all delivered something beyond mere calories. Cold cereal represented the admission that sometimes the simplest solution was best. Sliced deli meat and cheese roll-ups offered seniors a protein-rich meal requiring no bread, no cooking, and almost no preparation. A slice of ham, turkey, or roast beef wrapped around string cheese or Swiss became lunch in seconds. Seniors could eat these roll-ups with one hand while reading or watching television, making mealtime less of a production. The combination provided substantial protein, satisfying hunger without the heaviness of a full sandwich. Deli meat lasted several days in refrigerators, and cheese kept even longer, meaning seniors could purchase modestly during weekly shopping. Some added mustard inside before wrapping. Others preferred clean flavors of just meat and cheese. Portions were easy to control, 2 or 3 roll-ups for light lunch, 4 or 5 for substantial meal. For seniors who had lost interest in elaborate cooking, these simple roll-ups delivered nutrition without demanding effort. They could be assembled at the refrigerator and consumed standing or carried to a comfortable chair. Peanut butter on celery became an afternoon snack that seniors elevated to meal status when appetites ran small and cooking felt like too much effort. Crisp celery stalks, washed and cut into manageable pieces, served as edible vessels for generous smears of creamy peanut butter. The combination delivered crunch, protein, and fiber in proportions that satisfied without overwhelming diminished appetites. Seniors appreciated that both ingredients required no cooking and minimal preparation, just washing, cutting, and spreading. The celery provided hydration and vitamins, while peanut butter offered staying power that kept hunger at bay for hours. Many seniors remembered this combination from childhood, when mothers packed it in lunchboxes. Returning to it in later years felt comfortable rather than diminished. The snack could be eaten at the kitchen counter, in a favorite chair, or while watching evening news. For those whose energy for meal preparation had waned, peanut butter on celery proved nutrition did not require complexity. Yogurt with granola offered seniors a meal requiring nothing more than opening 2 containers and combining their contents. A cup of yogurt, plain, vanilla, or fruit-flavored, provided calcium and protein that doctors emphasized for bone health. A handful of granola sprinkled on top added crunch and fiber that transformed smooth yogurt into something more substantial. The combination could serve as breakfast, lunch, or dinner for those whose appetites had shrunk with age. Seniors valued the convenience of ingredients staying fresh for weeks in refrigerators and pantry shelves. There was no cooking, no measuring, no cleanup beyond rinsing the spoon and cup. The meal could be assembled in under a minute and eaten anywhere, at the table, in a recliner, or standing at the counter. For seniors managing medications requiring food, yogurt with granola provided gentle sustenance easy on sensitive stomachs. It was modern convenience food that actually delivered genuine nutrition. Cottage cheese with canned peaches became a meal seniors returned to again and again for its simplicity, nutrition, and genuine appeal. A scoop of cottage cheese, creamy and mild, paired naturally with sweet peach slices from a can that cost little and lasted months in the pantry. The combination delivered protein and calcium from the cheese alongside vitamins and natural sweetness from the fruit. Seniors could assemble this in seconds. Open the can, spoon cottage cheese into a bowl, arrange peaches on top. There was no cooking, no precise measuring, no chance of failure. The textures complemented each other perfectly, smooth curds contrasting with tender fruit in ways that made eating pleasurable. Many seniors ate this for lunch when heat made cooking unbearable or when energy would not stretch to more elaborate preparation. The meal traveled well too, packed in containers for appointments. Cottage cheese with canned peaches proved that simple combinations could satisfy both hunger and enjoyment. Crackers with peanut butter and jelly transported seniors back to childhood while providing practical nutrition requiring no cooking whatsoever. Saltines or whole wheat crackers served as crisp bases for smears of peanut butter and dollops of grape or strawberry jelly. The combination delivered protein, carbohydrates, and just enough sweetness to feel like a treat rather than mere sustenance. Seniors could assemble these at the kitchen counter in moments, eating immediately or stacking several on a plate to carry elsewhere. The ingredients lasted weeks without spoiling. Crackers in their sleeves, peanut butter in the jar, jelly in the refrigerator. There was comfort in familiar flavors that reminded many of school lunches from decades past. For seniors whose appetites had diminished, these small bites allowed eating in manageable portions. The meal required no utensils beyond a knife for spreading, no dishes beyond the plate. Crackers with peanut butter and jelly represented honest, unfussy eating that sustained people. Tomato sandwiches became summer treasures for seniors who remembered when gardens produced more tomatoes than any family could possibly eat. 2 slices of soft white bread, spread with mayonnaise and layered with thick-cut, ripe tomatoes, created a sandwich requiring no cooking and celebrating summer's finest offering. The preparation took seconds. Bread from the bag, mayonnaise from the jar, tomatoes sliced on a cutting board. Salt and pepper finished the assembly. The taste was pure and immediate, the tomatoes' acid balanced by creamy mayonnaise and soft bread absorbing the juices. Seniors ate these sandwiches standing over the sink to catch drips or seated at kitchen tables with napkins ready. The meal cost almost nothing during tomato season when neighbors shared surplus from gardens. For those living alone, a tomato sandwich represented summer itself. Fresh, simple, requiring nothing but appreciation. Many seniors marked seasons by when tomatoes became good enough for this beloved sandwich. Microwave-baked potatoes gave seniors a hot, filling meal requiring nothing more than pressing buttons and waiting. A russet potato washed and pierced with a fork, cooked in the microwave in under 10 minutes, emerging steaming and ready for toppings. Butter, sour cream, cheese, or simply salt and pepper transformed the humble potato into dinner. Seniors valued this meal because potatoes kept for weeks in cool pantries cost almost nothing and provided carbohydrates and potassium bodies needed. The microwave eliminated the hour-long wait of oven baking and the heat that made summer cooking unbearable. One potato perfectly served one person, with no leftovers to manage or waste to feel guilty about. The meal could be assembled without recipes or precise timing. Potatoes were forgiving, edible whether slightly under or overcooked. For seniors whose kitchens had grown quiet and whose energy for elaborate cooking had faded, microwave-baked potatoes offered hot, satisfying meals, asking almost nothing in return. Grilled cheese sandwiches remained one of the few cooked meals that seniors living alone continued making regularly because the process was simple, forgiving, and deeply satisfying. 2 slices of bread, buttered on the outside and filled with cheese, cooked in a skillet until golden and melted. The preparation required minimal attention, just occasional flipping and watching for the right color. Seniors had been making these sandwiches for so many decades that the process was automatic, requiring no thought or recipe. The smell of butter browning and cheese melting filled kitchens with warmth, making solitary eating feel less lonely. American cheese melted most reliably, though some preferred cheddar for sharper flavor. The sandwich could be served alone or alongside canned soup, creating a combination that felt complete. For seniors whose cooking had otherwise ceased, grilled cheese represented a skill that never faded, a meal that could always be managed. It was comfort food in its purest form. Hummus with pita bread or vegetables introduced seniors to a meal that felt exotic, yet required no cooking whatsoever. Store-bought hummus, creamy and flavored with garlic and lemon, served as a dip for pita triangles, carrot sticks, or celery pieces. The combination delivered protein from chickpeas, fiber from vegetables, and satisfaction from flavors more interesting than typical senior fare. Many elderly people discovered hummus later in life through children or grandchildren who had embraced Mediterranean eating. They found it surprisingly appealing, mild enough for sensitive palates, yet flavorful enough to make eating enjoyable. The containers lasted weeks in refrigerators, and vegetables could be purchased pre-cut for those with limited hand strength. There was no cooking, no measuring, no complicated assembly. Just open, dip, and eat. For seniors whose appetites had grown bored with familiar foods, hummus offered novelty without requiring new cooking skills. It proved that trying new things remained possible. Avocado toast became a meal that bridged generations, enjoyed by seniors who discovered the combination their grandchildren loved actually suited their needs perfectly. A ripe avocado, mashed with a fork and spread on toasted bread, provided healthy fats, fiber, and vitamins in a form requiring minimal preparation. Seniors added salt, pepper, and perhaps a squeeze of lemon to finish the simple assembly. The meal took under 5 minutes from start to finish, with no cooking beyond toasting bread. Avocados required watching for ripeness, but once ready, they lasted several days and provided multiple meals. The creamy texture appealed to those with dental concerns, while mild flavor satisfied without overwhelming. Many seniors ate avocado toast for breakfast or lunch, appreciating that it felt modern and healthy rather than like diminished old-person food. The meal delivered genuine nutrition without demanding cooking skills or extensive cleanup. Avocado toast represented a way to eat well that felt current rather than stuck in the past. Bean salad from a can offered seniors complete nutrition in a container that could sit in pantries for years until needed. 3-bean salad, already dressed and seasoned, required nothing more than opening the can and eating directly or transferring to a bowl. The beans provided protein and fiber, while the vinegar dressing added tang that made the combination interesting. Seniors valued this meal because it required no refrigeration until opened, no preparation whatsoever, and no cooking under any circumstances. A single can served as lunch or dinner, with leftovers keeping for days in the refrigerator. The salad could be eaten cold, making it perfect for summer days when turning on the stove felt impossible. Many seniors kept several cans in their pantries as insurance against days when shopping proved impossible or energy simply would not stretch to food preparation. Bean salad represented the best of canned convenience, genuinely nutritious, reasonably tasty, and completely effortless. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches combined 2 beloved ingredients into a meal seniors could assemble without any cooking whatsoever. Creamy peanut butter spread on soft bread, topped with sliced ripe banana, created a sandwich delivering protein, potassium, and natural sweetness in every bite. The preparation required nothing more than a knife for spreading and slicing. No heat, no timing, no complicated steps. Seniors valued this combination because both ingredients stayed fresh without refrigeration, making them reliable pantry staples. The banana's sweetness complemented the peanut butter's richness in ways that felt indulgent. Many remembered eating these as children, when mothers packed them for school lunches. Returning to this familiar combination in later years felt comfortable rather than diminished. The sandwich could be eaten immediately or wrapped for later. For seniors whose energy for cooking had faded, peanut butter and banana sandwiches proved that satisfying meals required neither recipes nor effort. Canned fruit cocktail became a dessert, snack, or light meal that seniors could enjoy directly from the can without any preparation whatsoever. The colorful mixture of peaches, pears, grapes, cherries, and pineapple chunks provided vitamins and natural sweetness in convenient single-serving or larger cans. Seniors could eat it cold from the refrigerator or at room temperature straight from the pantry shelf. The syrup added sweetness that made the fruit feel like a treat rather than mere nutrition. Many seniors kept several cans stocked as insurance against days when fresh fruit was unavailable or appetites demanded something sweet. The fruit cocktail could be spooned over cottage cheese mixed into yogurt or eaten plain as a satisfying snack. For those living alone, the portion sizes worked well. A small can served one person perfectly. Canned fruit cocktail represented convenient nutrition that allowed seniors to maintain independence without sacrificing enjoyment. Buttered noodles offered seniors a warm, comforting meal, requiring only boiling water and patience. A handful of egg noodles or pasta, cooked until tender and tossed with butter and salt, created a dish that satisfied without overwhelming diminished appetites. The preparation was forgiving. Noodles could be over or undercooked without disaster. Seniors who had cooked elaborate meals for families found peace in this simplicity, returning to a dish that children and adults alike had always loved. The butter melted into the warm noodles, coating each strand with richness that felt indulgent despite humble ingredients. Some added Parmesan cheese, Others preferred just butter and salt. The dish could be made in small portions, eliminating waste and the sadness of leftovers no one else would share. For seniors whose kitchens had grown quiet, buttered noodles represented warm comfort that required minimal effort and delivered satisfaction. Cheese quesadillas gave seniors a hot meal that could be assembled and cooked in under 5 minutes with minimal cleanup. A flour tortilla folded around shredded cheese, heated in a dry skillet until the cheese melted and the tortilla turned golden, created something that felt like a proper dinner. The preparation required no oil, no precise timing, just watching for the right color and flipping once. Seniors appreciated that tortillas lasted for weeks in refrigerators and shredded cheese kept even longer when stored properly. The quesadilla could be eaten plain, dipped in salsa, or accompanied by canned beans for a more substantial meal. The crispy exterior gave way to melted cheese inside, providing textural satisfaction that made eating enjoyable. For seniors who had stopped cooking elaborate meals, quesadillas offered a way to still eat something hot. They proved that simple preparations could still deliver the comfort of a cooked meal. Applesauce with cinnamon became a gentle meal for seniors whose appetites or dental concerns made other foods difficult. A jar or single-serve cup of applesauce, sprinkled with cinnamon, provided fruit nutrition in a form requiring no chewing and no preparation beyond opening the container. The smooth texture slid down easily, making it ideal for days when eating felt like too much effort, or when medications required food, but nothing else appealed. Seniors kept applesauce stocked in pantries because it lasted for months and required no refrigeration until opened. The cinnamon added warmth to the familiar apple flavor, transforming plain food into something thoughtful. Many seniors ate applesauce as a snack between meals, as dessert after soup, or as breakfast when nothing else would do. For those living alone and managing health challenges, applesauce with cinnamon represented gentle nutrition that asked nothing in return. English muffins with butter and jam provided seniors a breakfast or snack that felt special despite requiring almost no effort. The muffin, split and toasted until golden, emerged warm and ready for generous spreads of butter melting into the nooks and crannies. A layer of jam, strawberry, grape, or orange marmalade, added sweetness and color that made the simple food feel celebratory. The preparation took under 5 minutes, with no cooking beyond toasting. English muffins lasted for weeks in refrigerators or freezers, meaning seniors could buy without worry about waste. The texture satisfied in ways that regular toast could not, the crispy exterior giving way to soft, chewy interior. Many seniors remembered English muffins from diners and breakfast restaurants, making them feel like a small luxury rather than mere sustenance. For those eating alone, the single muffin served as a perfect portion, enough to satisfy without excess. Soup and sandwich combinations represented the perfect meal for seniors who wanted variety without complexity. A can of soup heated on the stove or in the microwave, paired with a simple sandwich, cheese, deli meat, or peanut butter, created lunch or dinner that felt complete and balanced. The soup provided warmth and liquid, while the sandwich added substance and protein. Seniors had been eating this combination at diners and lunch counters for decades, making it feel familiar and comfortable. The preparation required minimal effort. Open the can, heat the soup, assemble the sandwich. Both components could be adjusted to appetite, with smaller portions on lighter days. The combination covered multiple food groups without elaborate planning or cooking skill. For seniors living alone, soup and sandwich meant eating like everyone else, maintaining the rhythms of normal meals even when no one shared the table. Trail mix became a meal replacement snack that seniors could eat anywhere without any preparation whatsoever. The combination of nuts, dried fruits, and sometimes chocolate provided protein, fiber, and quick energy in a form requiring no cooking, no utensils, and no cleanup. Seniors kept bags of trail mix in purses, pockets, and kitchen counters for moments when hunger struck, but cooking felt impossible. The mix could be purchased pre-made or assembled at home from preferred ingredients, allowing customization for dietary needs or taste preferences. Each handful delivered sustained energy lasting longer than simple carbohydrates, making it ideal for afternoons between meals. The nuts provided healthy fats doctors recommended, while dried fruits offered vitamins and natural sweetness. For seniors whose appetites had shrunk or whose energy for meal preparation had waned, trail mix proved that nutrition could be genuinely portable. Scrambled eggs remained one of the few cooked meals that seniors continued making because the process was quick, forgiving, and delivered protein in its most accessible form. 2 or 3 eggs, beaten with a fork and cooked in a buttered pan, became breakfast, lunch, or dinner in under 5 minutes. The preparation required minimal attention, just stirring occasionally until the eggs set into soft, creamy curds. Seniors who had cooked elaborate meals for families found comfort in this simplicity, returning to a dish that never failed and always satisfied. Salt and pepper finished the eggs, some added cheese for variety. The cost was negligible. Eggs remained among the cheapest protein sources available. 1 pan, 1 fork, 1 plate meant minimal cleanup for those whose energy had limits. Scrambled eggs could be eaten alone or alongside toast for a more substantial meal. For seniors living alone, they represented self-sufficiency. Crackers and cheese offered seniors a meal that could be assembled at the kitchen counter and eaten standing up or carried to a comfortable chair. A sleeve of crackers, a block or slices of cheese, and perhaps some sliced apple or grapes created a plate that satisfied without requiring any cooking whatsoever. The combination provided protein, carbohydrates, and calcium in proportions doctors approved. Seniors could control portions easily, a few crackers for a light snack, a full plate for a proper meal. Both ingredients lasted for weeks when stored properly, making them reliable pantry staples that never went to waste. The textures complemented each other perfectly, crisp crackers against creamy or sharp cheese. Many seniors remembered childhood snacks of crackers and cheese, making this combination feel nostalgic rather than diminished. For those whose kitchens had grown quiet, this proved that satisfying meals did not require recipes. Vienna sausage sandwiches transformed small canned sausages into quick meals that children and adults devoured during the mid-20th century. The tiny, pale sausages came packed in broth, soft enough to eat cold from the can or sliced lengthwise onto bread. Their mild, slightly smoky flavor appealed to picky eaters, while providing protein costing less than fresh meat. Mothers appreciated how cans stored indefinitely in pantries, ready for emergencies or unexpected mouths to feed. The sausages were mashed with a fork or sliced thin, then layered on bread with mustard or mayonnaise. Some families added onions or pickles for crunch. The sandwich assembled in minutes without cooking, perfect for hot summer days when lighting the stove meant heating the entire house. Children often asked for these specifically, finding the small sausages more appealing than mysterious lunch meats. Seniors remember raiding pantries for Vienna sausage cans as after-school snacks. The cans represented affordable, satisfying, protein-rich meals. Wondered what the ultimate American comfort food was back in the day? Well, the only right answer is the veal and ham pie. This hearty pie combined the delicate flavors of veal with the salty goodness of ham. The pie's popularity surged during the Victorian era. It originated in the kitchens of English settlers and was a practical choice for using up leftovers, but soon became a meal for the elite. While it was a luxurious delicacy in England, it was a staple in large households in America. Not only was it easy to whip up, but was also cheap to make, which made it perfect for communal gatherings and large families. If you want to give your grandparents a rush of nostalgia, ask them about this meaty goodness, and who knows, your grandma might even dust off some cookbooks. Vienna sausages and crackers served as the self-contained lunch that required no cooking, no refrigeration, and no cleanup beyond disposing of the can. Those small, soft sausages packed in briny liquid provided ready-to-eat protein that seniors living alone could access whenever hunger struck. A can cost roughly 15 cents and contained enough sausages to pair with crackers for a complete, if modest, midday meal. The sausages had a mild flavor and tender texture that some found comforting while others tolerated as practical sustenance. Eaten straight from the can with crackers, this lunch could be assembled in under 10 minutes without dirtying pots or pans. For elderly folks on fixed incomes, Vienna sausages represented protein that lasted indefinitely and required nothing beyond opening the can. Some included mustard for dipping, but many ate them plain. The lunch carried associations with simple times when elaborate preparation seemed unnecessary. Vienna sausages have largely disappeared from consideration as proper lunch fare. Banana and mayonnaise sandwiches sound strange to modern ears, but were beloved comfort food throughout the South during the mid-20th century. The combination emerged when bananas became affordable, and Southern cooks discovered that mayonnaise's creamy richness paired surprisingly well with the fruit's sweetness. Ripe bananas were sliced onto soft white bread slathered with mayo, sometimes with a sprinkle of salt. The texture was creamy and soft, almost like eating banana pudding in sandwich form. Children loved these because they tasted like a treat despite costing almost nothing. The sandwich provided quick energy from natural sugars, while the mayo added satisfying richness. Families packed them for school lunches, knowing they stayed fresh longer than many alternatives. Duke's mayonnaise was the preferred brand in Southern households. Today, this sandwich divides people into believers and skeptics, but seniors who grew up eating them remember the simple pleasure of something special from humble ingredients. When it comes to the kind of food that could bring a whole community together, nothing beats a Pow-wow taco skillet. Picture this: golden fry bread sizzling in a cast-iron skillet, layered with spiced ground beef, beans, and a sprinkle of sharp cheddar. It is hearty, it is filling, and it is the kind of thing you could smell from half a mile away at a summer fairground. The best part was how everyone had their own little twist. Some would add green chilies, others would pile on diced tomatoes and shredded lettuce. No matter how you stacked it, it was one of those meals where you needed both hands and a whole lot of napkins. It was a festival favorite that always found its way back to the dinner table at home, whether or not there was a real powwow happening. Trust me, once you tried it, no ordinary taco could ever compete. But if you thought the skillet was the ultimate party trick, wait until you see what folks were flipping onto backyard grills during family gatherings. Bread and milk bowl was the simplest possible lunch, yet it sustained seniors across America when appetites were small or budgets impossibly tight. This wasn't a recipe so much as a survival strategy, combining torn pieces of bread with cold or warm milk in a bowl, sometimes sprinkled with sugar. The bread softened in the milk, creating something between cereal and soup that required no cooking and minimal chewing. During the 1940s through the 1960s, many elderly folks turned to this combination when other foods seemed too heavy to prepare. The meal provided calcium from the milk and carbohydrates from the bread, offering basic nutrition when appetites had diminished. Some variations used stale bread specifically, since soaking in milk revived even the driest crusts. The dish cost mere pennies, making it accessible even during the leanest weeks before pension checks arrived. Children who visited grandparents often remembered seeing this humble bowl. Bread and milk bowl remains a powerful symbol of resourceful simplicity. Onion sandwiches carried a sharp, pungent honesty that defined working-class meals when meat was scarce and gardens provided what little families had. A thick slice of raw white onion was placed between bread spread with butter or lard, seasoned only with salt. The flavor was bold, almost aggressive, clearing sinuses and filling bellies with something substantial enough to call dinner. During the Depression, raw onions cost pennies and lasted weeks in cool cellars, making them reliable sustenance when nothing else was available. The sandwich required no cooking and could be assembled in seconds by tired workers returning home. Children learned to eat them without complaint because complaining meant going hungry. The sharpness seemed to wake up taste buds dulled by bland, poverty-era meals. Seniors today remember the sandwich with mixed emotions, recalling both the hardship it represented and the strange satisfaction it provided. What seemed like desperation food actually delivered vitamins and fullness when families had almost nothing. Ground beef and cornmeal dumplings were a true lifesaver when money was tight, but stomachs were growling. The beef was browned up and simmered slow with a few onions and maybe a pinch of pepper. Then it was topped with dollops of cornmeal dough. When it steamed and cooked right over the beefy juices, the dumplings puffed up soft and tender, soaking up every bit of that rich, savory flavor. No one was counting calories back then. They were counting smiles around the dinner table, and these dumplings guaranteed a few extra ones. It was a dish that filled you up from the inside out, the kind of meal that stuck to your ribs in the best way possible. Even better, you could stretch a pound of beef to feed 6 or 7 people easy, which meant there was always enough for unexpected guests or seconds. If you thought that was the peak of stretching flavor and comfort, just wait until you hear about a casserole that captured everything good about ground beef and corn and wrapped it up in pure 1970s nostalgia. Creamed corn on toast transformed a humble canned vegetable into a warm, comforting lunch that could be ready in minutes. Seniors living alone during the 1950s and 1960s often kept cans of creamed corn stacked in pantries, knowing they could heat one on the stovetop and pour it directly over buttered toast for a filling midday meal. The cream-style corn needed no additional preparation, its thick texture clinging to the bread while the natural sweetness balanced the butter's richness. Some cooks added a dash of black pepper, but the dish required no elaborate seasoning to satisfy. For those on fixed incomes, creamed corn represented remarkable value at roughly 15 cents per can, enough to top 2 or 3 slices of toast. The combination provided both carbohydrates and vegetables, offering balanced nutrition without complicated cooking. This was practical food for practical people, requiring only a saucepan and 5 minutes of attention. Though largely forgotten today, creamed corn on toast once filled stomachs across America. Tomato sandwiches were summer's greatest gift to budget-conscious households across the rural South during the Depression and post-war years. When backyard gardens overflowed with ripe red tomatoes, families turned that abundance into simple meals costing almost nothing. The preparation required only thick slices of vine-ripened tomato, soft white bread, mayonnaise, and salt and pepper. The bread soaked up the tomatoes' juices, creating a soft texture that contrasted beautifully with the cool, sweet tart fruit. Seniors who grew up in working-class homes remember eating these standing over the kitchen sink, letting the juice drip freely. The sandwich represented self-sufficiency and home gardening when every dollar mattered. Mothers packed them for lunch when garden produce was plentiful, knowing they provided vitamins without spending precious grocery money. Today, heirloom tomato sandwiches appear on fancy restaurant menus, but nothing matches the memory of homegrown tomatoes between cheap white bread. Before chicken became everyone's favorite pie stuffing, rabbit pie was a favorite on the Easter table. Made out of tender rabbit meal, this savory pie was a household favorite in many rural areas. Rabbit meat is not only rich in flavor, but it's full of nutrients, which made this a healthy choice for many and a staple of the American pioneers. Plus, rabbit meat didn't cost a fortune like most meat back in the day and was widely available. Along with rabbit meat, ingredients of the filling of a rabbit pie typically included onions, celery, and carrots. Some English variations included prunes, bacon, and cider, while the Australians sometimes included the food paste Vegemite. Rabbits aren't as common as they were back then, so rabbit pie has vanished from our tables and Easter traditions. You know what? All good things come to an end. Sardines on toast carried an honest simplicity that seniors living alone appreciated for both nutrition and economy. A small tin of sardines, often purchased for less than 20 cents, provided complete protein and enough substance for a satisfying midday meal. The preparation required nothing more than opening the can, arranging the fish on buttered toast, and adding perhaps a squeeze of lemon juice. The sardines came packed in oil, tomato sauce, or mustard, each variety offering different flavor profiles for minimal cost. Many seniors kept tins stacked in their pantries, knowing this lunch could be assembled in under 5 minutes without heating anything beyond the toast. The fish's salty richness paired perfectly with soft white bread, creating a combination that filled the stomach without elaborate cooking. For those watching pennies stretch across fixed incomes, sardines represented remarkable value. This humble lunch reminded many of simpler times when canned fish was considered perfectly respectable fare. Syrup sandwiches carried sweetness and energy to children who needed both during years when sugar was rationed and treats were rare. Sorghum, molasses, or cane syrup was drizzled generously over soft bread, sometimes topped with another slice, sometimes eaten open-faced. The dark, sticky sweetness spread across the bread like liquid candy, providing quick fuel for active children and tired workers alike. The flavor was deep and complex, far more interesting than plain sugar, with mineral notes and earthy undertones. Families kept jars of syrup in pantries throughout the South, using it as affordable sweetener when refined sugar cost too much. The sandwich required no cooking and assembled in seconds when hunger struck between meals. Children begged for these as treats, not realizing they were also survival food born from necessity. The syrup's thickness made the sandwich filling despite containing little actual nutrition beyond carbohydrates. Seniors remember the sticky fingers and satisfied smiles following every syrup sandwich. Beef and cabbage skillet was not flashy, but it was reliable, and back in the post-war days, that counted for a lot. This dish came from the same logic that made Victory Garden's bloom and ration stamps necessary: make the most of what you have. Cabbage was cheap, hearty, and available year-round. Ground beef, when you could get it, was used sparingly. So together, they made a meal that could stretch across a week if needed. The process was simple. Brown the beef, toss in shredded or chopped cabbage, season with whatever you had: salt, pepper, vinegar, maybe a splash of soy sauce or tomato paste if you were lucky. The cabbage softened into ribbons, soaking up every bit of beefy flavor while adding its own earthy goodness. You ate it straight from the skillet, hot and steaming, with maybe a hunk of bread on the side. It was survival food that did not taste like sacrifice. And if that sounds hearty enough, just wait until we take this same idea to the great outdoors with foil, fire, and a little campfire nostalgia. Hot tomato soup with saltines represented perhaps the most iconic simple lunch for seniors living alone, combining warmth, flavor, and affordability in a single bowl. Campbell's condensed soup cost roughly 12 cents per can and stretched to serve one generously when mixed with water or milk. The soup heated quickly on the stovetop, filling the kitchen with familiar aromas that signaled lunchtime. Saltine crackers floated on top or accompanied the bowl, their salty crunch providing textural contrast to the smooth, tangy soup. For those eating alone, this lunch offered psychological comfort alongside physical nourishment since the warm bowl felt like care and attention. The soup's smooth texture went down easily for those with dental concerns. A sleeve of crackers lasted weeks, making them economical pantry staples. This pairing sustained generations of seniors through quiet lunchtimes, requiring minimal effort. Though soup cans remain on shelves, the ritual of crackers floating in tomato soup has largely faded from daily practice. Sardine sandwiches delivered complete protein and essential fats to families who couldn't afford fresh fish or expensive meats during lean times. Small tins of sardines packed in oil sat on pantry shelves, ready to become instant meals whenever hunger called. The tiny fish were mashed onto bread with a fork, their salty, oily richness spreading easily. Some families added sliced onion or a squeeze of lemon to cut through the fishiness. The flavor was bold and unmistakably oceanic, filling kitchens with a distinctive aroma. A single tin could feed 2 people when stretched with plenty of bread, making sardines remarkably economical. The calcium from soft, edible bones provided nutrition that growing children desperately needed. Sardine sandwiches appeared in factory lunch pails and school bags throughout working-class America. Seniors remember their fathers eating these after long shifts, the tin opened with a key that peeled back the lid. The sandwich carried honest nourishment, tasting better than its humble reputation suggested. Welsh rarebit was once the sophisticated cousin of plain cheese toast, transforming simple ingredients into something that felt almost elegant for lunch alone. The dish began with a thick sauce made from sharp cheddar melted slowly with butter, a splash of beer or milk, and a dash of Worcestershire sauce. This golden, bubbling mixture was poured over toasted bread and placed under the broiler until the edges turned brown and crispy. For seniors living alone in the 1950s and 1960s, Welsh rarebit represented an affordable indulgence requiring only pantry staples. The cheese provided protein and calcium, while the toast offered filling carbohydrates that satisfied without waste. One slice was often enough for lunch, making it economical for single-serving preparation. The dish carried memories of lunch counters where it appeared on menus as something special. Though rarely made today, Welsh rarebit proved that cheese on toast could become a meal worthy of sitting down to enjoy. mustard sandwiches represented rock-bottom survival food during the hardest years of American poverty, yet they carried surprising dignity in their simplicity. 2 slices of bread spread generously with bright yellow mustard created a meal costing virtually nothing but still feeling intentional. The tangy, vinegary bite provided flavor intensity that plain bread could never deliver alone. Children walked to school with these in their lunch pails during the Depression, eating them without shame because everyone understood hard times. The mustard's sharpness fooled the brain into thinking something more substantial had been consumed. Families kept large jars of cheap yellow mustard in pantries, knowing it could stretch meals when nothing remained. The sandwich required no refrigeration and could be made by the youngest child. Seniors who survived those lean years remember mustard sandwiches with quiet pride, knowing they represented resilience and determination to eat something rather than nothing. Beef jambalaya bake took everything you loved about Louisiana comfort food and gave it a weeknight twist. Traditional jambalaya was made with shrimp or sausage, but when ground beef was what you had, you did not complain, you improvised. This casserole was warm, spicy, and overflowing with flavor. You would start by browning the beef in a skillet with onions, bell peppers, and celery, the Cajun holy trinity. Toss in some garlic, tomato paste, and a good shake of paprika or cayenne pepper, and suddenly, the whole house smelled like dinner was about to get exciting. Then came the rice, which cooked in the pan with beef broth or tomato juice until everything swelled and soaked up the seasoning. Some families added beans or corn. Others threw cheese on top and baked it for an extra kick. It was the kind of dish that got passed around the table fast and left nothing behind but crumbs. And if you think baking jambalaya was clever, just wait until you see what happens when you stuff a hamburger inside an onion. No bun required. Canned salmon patties transformed affordable pantry protein into crispy, satisfying lunch fare that seniors could prepare in small batches. A single can of pink salmon, costing roughly 30 cents, provided enough fish for several patties when mixed with crushed crackers, egg, and minced onion. The mixture was shaped into rounds and fried in oil until golden brown on both sides. For seniors living alone, salmon patties offered the advantage of being made fresh in whatever quantity was needed since the canned fish kept indefinitely. 2 patties served between bread or alongside vegetables made a complete lunch, providing protein and satisfaction. The recipe required no precise measurements and forgave substitutions, making it accessible for those who rarely cooked elaborate meals. Many seniors learned to make these patties during the Depression and carried the habit into retirement. The soft bones in canned salmon provided valuable calcium. Though canned salmon still fills shelves, the art of patty making has largely disappeared. Potted meat sandwiches turned tiny cans of processed meat spread into filling meals that sustained working families across America. The small, affordable cans contained finely ground meat mixed with seasonings and gelatin, creating a spreadable paste covering bread easily. The flavor was salty and vaguely meaty, with smooth texture that children found less intimidating than tougher cuts. Spread thick between slices of soft white bread, sometimes with mustard or pickle slices, potted meat made a complete sandwich for pennies. The cans required no refrigeration until opened, making them perfect pantry staples for homes without reliable icebox access. Families bought them by the case when money allowed, stockpiling affordable protein against uncertain times. The sandwiches appeared at picnics, in lunch boxes, and on dinner tables when paychecks ran thin. Children grew up eating them without realizing how clever their mothers were at stretching resources. Today, potted meat still exists in stores, a quiet reminder of survival cooking. Smothered ground. Beef and hominy was the kind of meal that did not just fill your plate, it filled your soul. Ground beef cooked slow and easy, seasoned with just enough spice to keep things interesting, and then tossed together with hominy so tender it almost melted in your mouth. If you have never had hominy before, just picture corn but bigger, puffier, and somehow even more satisfying. When the juices from the beef soaked into every kernel, you got a dish that was buttery, savory, and rich enough to carry you through an entire winter's night. Families back then knew that when you needed a dinner that would power you through long days and longer nights, this was it. It was not fancy food, but it was food that made you feel like you were winning at life, even when the cupboards were looking bare. Now, if you thought beef and hominy could turn a plain night into something unforgettable, get ready to bite into a dish that brought every powwow to life with a little bit of crunch and a whole lot of heart. Cottage cheese and canned peaches became a lunchtime staple for seniors seeking something cool, refreshing, and requiring absolutely no cooking. This combination appeared on countless plates during the 1950s and 1960s when cottage cheese was promoted for its protein content and digestibility. A scoop of creamy cottage cheese surrounded by golden peach halves created a meal that felt lighter than sandwiches but remained filling enough to sustain energy through the afternoon. The sweetness of the syrup-packed peaches balanced the mild tang of the cheese, creating flavors that complemented rather than competed. For seniors living alone, this lunch offered particular advantages, since both components kept well in the refrigerator and required no preparation beyond spooning onto a plate. A small container of cottage cheese and a single can of peaches could provide lunches for several days, stretching grocery budgets admirably. Though rarely seen on modern plates, this pairing once represented sensible, economical eating for one. Crackling bread sandwiches combined two Southern traditions into one gloriously rich meal that wasted nothing from the family hog. Cracklings, the crispy bits left after rendering pork fat into lard, were stirred into cornbread batter before baking, creating bread studded with salty, crunchy pork pieces. Sliced thick and still warm, the crackling bread was eaten between pieces of regular bread or simply split and buttered. The flavor was intensely porky, salty, and satisfying in ways that plain cornbread could never match. This sandwich represented the waste-nothing philosophy defining rural Southern cooking during hard times. Every scrap of the pig found purpose, including the crispy remnants of rendering. Families made crackling bread during hog killing season, when lard production created pounds of cracklings. The bread kept well for days, becoming sandwich material for lunch pails and quick suppers. Seniors from rural areas remember the smoky aroma-filling kitchens and the satisfying crunch of crackling studded bread. Potted meat and crackers provided quick, shelf-stable lunch protein for seniors who needed no-fuss meals ready in moments. Those small cans of spreadable meat paste, often pork or chicken-based, cost mere pennies and required no refrigeration until opened. The meat spread easily on saltines, rye crisps, or Melba toast, creating bite-sized portions that could be eaten while reading or listening to the radio. For seniors living alone, this lunch represented pure convenience since crackers stayed fresh in sleeves and meat cans stacked neatly in pantries. The flavor was salty and intensely meaty, a little going far when spread thinly across crackers. Some added pickle slices or mustard to brighten the richness, though many ate the combination plain. The protein helped maintain energy through afternoon hours when larger meals felt burdensome. This wasn't glamorous eating, but it was practical sustenance, acknowledging the reality of cooking for one. Though still sold in stores, potted meat has disappeared from respectable lunch fare. Bacon dripping sandwiches turned saved cooking fat into meals delivering rich, smoky satisfaction without wasting precious bacon. Families saved bacon grease in jars beside the stove, the accumulated fat representing flavor wealth too valuable to discard. The drippings were spread onto bread while still warm, absorbing into the soft surface and creating butter-like richness. Salt was usually unnecessary since the bacon fat carried plenty, though some added pepper for warmth. The flavor was unmistakably bacon without requiring actual bacon, stretching the essence of expensive cured pork across many meals. During the Depression and wartime rationing, this sandwich appeared in households where meat was rationed or unaffordable. Children ate these without complaint because the smoky richness satisfied cravings that plain bread never could. The fat provided calories desperately needed by growing bodies and working adults. Seniors remember their mothers guarding the bacon grease jar, knowing those drippings transformed ordinary bread. Open-faced cheese dreams turned simple ingredients into something that felt special enough to serve on real plates with proper attention. The preparation began with buttered bread topped with sliced cheese, then placed under the broiler until the cheese bubbled and turned golden brown at the edges. This wasn't merely cheese toast, but a composed dish that seniors living alone could make feel like an event worth sitting down to enjoy. The broiling transformed ordinary American or cheddar into something almost sophisticated, with crispy edges and molten centers that satisfied deeply. Some cooks added tomato slices beneath the cheese, variations that stretched a simple concept into infinite possibilities. For those cooking alone, Cheese Dreams offered portion control, since each slice of bread represented a deliberate serving. The ingredients cost mere pennies and required no special shopping, making this lunch accessible any day. Though the name has faded from vocabulary, broiled cheese on toast remains comfort food at its purest. Peanut butter and pickle sandwiches emerged from Depression-era creativity and stuck around because they actually tasted surprisingly good. Creamy peanut butter was spread thick on one slice, while dill pickle slices covered the other, creating a combination that sounds wrong but works. The salty, tangy pickles cut through the peanut butter's richness, creating flavor contrast that kept taste buds interested. Children often loved these despite their strangeness, and mothers appreciated the protein combined with preserved vegetables. The pickles provided crunch that peanut butter alone couldn't offer, plus the vinegar balanced the fatty richness. Families made these when lunch meat was unavailable, but the pickle jar and peanut butter sat waiting in the pantry. The cost was negligible since both ingredients lasted weeks without refrigeration. Seniors today either remember loving these or being confused by the combination. What seemed like desperation food actually delivered balanced nutrition and genuinely interesting flavors. Which of these easy meals kept you or someone you love fed and independent? Share your favorites in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more ways to make life a little simpler.